because it kind of comes down to, that old, if you see something, say something.
Not everybody coming to the gym show is seeking precious stones. Tucson police warning about criminal activity involving sexual exploitation. Thousands of people are expected to visit Tucson for the annual Gem and Mineral Show, but it can also lead to a rise in human trafficking. Fox 11's Jasmine Ramirez tells us how Tucson police is spreading awareness and what red flags to watch out for. And here's some other red flags Tucson police say people need to be looking out for. One of them is a minor who was with someone much older than them. They also say be on the lookout for signs of physical abuse. And another tip-off, a person who acts submissive or fearful, that's a sign someone may be in an abusive relationship. Tucson police say they have wrapped up an investigation finding multiple types of drugs and firearms. This is what the bus looked like. TPD says the investigation started last July. Since then, they found 6 guns, 3,000 fentanyl pills, along with more than 4 ounces of meth, cocaine, and heroin. So far, no word on any arrests. We are working to get more information for you, and we will keep you updated. Depending on where you live, raindrops may be falling on your head. You're taking a live look at our tower cam on the northwest side as we are tracking some showers. Pretty exciting here in southern Arizona. Chief Meteorologist Aaron Christensen joins us now. He told us there is a chance, and some people are seeing it.
Yes, we've had some pretty decent rainfall in some areas, but it's really hit or miss.
It sounds good. Thanks so much, Aaron. A government website that lets you order free at-home COVID-19 tests is now live and 1 day early. The covidtest.gov website launched quietly this morning. It lets you order up to 4 tests per address, which will be delivered by the post office in about a week. A White House official says the website is ordering a limited capacity ahead of its official launch tomorrow. The Omicron variant now accounts for nearly every new COVID-19 infection. The CDC says it has caused more than 99.5% of new cases in the last week. The Delta variant makes up the remaining 0.5%. And to show you how quickly this Omicron variant became dominant, it accounted for less than 1% of cases at the beginning of December. Taking a look now at Arizona's case count, nearly 24,000 new cases came in today. Nearly 200 new deaths have been reported, but not all of those deaths are from yesterday. More than 3,200 COVID inpatients occupy inpatient hospital beds statewide, and that number continues to trend upward now. The pandemic is still forcing some school districts into remote learning, and the American Medical Association shows the shifting between classroom and remote operations hasn't really helped students. The AMA is out with a review showing school closures and other lockdowns during the early months of the pandemic were associated with stress and anxiety among children and teens. Many teachers are also concerned about their own health, which makes going back to the classroom learning harder.
I know teachers want to be in school, but they want to be in school where it's safe and healthy.
Arizona Governor Doug Ducey said in his State of the State address that Arizona schools will not shut down again. The Biden administration is stepping up efforts to prevent devastating wildfires in Arizona and the West. Today, the Department of Agriculture announced a $50 billion plan. It includes more aggressively thinning forest around areas close to homes. The strategy includes controlled burns and logging and will reach up to 50 million additional acres of land, including private and public land. This comes as climate change has worsened droughts and led to more intensive and devastating fires, including one just before New Year's in Boulder County, Colorado, that burned hundreds of homes. Some of Donald Trump's closest advisors are now facing subpoenas from the House committee investigating the Capitol riot. Those include his former lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, along with Jenna Ellis and Sidney Powell, 2 lawyers who pushed baseless election fraud claims. The committee chairman says members want to know what these people said to Trump surrounding his attempts to stop the counting of the electoral votes. We're also learning the committee has subpoenaed and obtained records of phone numbers associated with one of former President Donald Trump's children, Eric Trump. Voting rights bills backed by Democrats and civil rights leaders are headed for defeat even as the Senate begins debating them. Lawmakers are taking up a measure that combines 2 separate bills already passed by the House. The Freedom to Vote Act would establish nationwide standards and require states to allow early voting and vote by mail. The second measure would restore parts of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 that were weakened by the Supreme Court. But Democrats Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona refuse to change the filibuster even though they support voting rights. That means Democrats won't have the 60 votes they need in an evenly divided Senate to advance the bill against solid Republican opposition.
Voting rights is a fight. Republicans, when they show up with an axe. Democrats show up with a butter knife.
Opponents are calling the proposal partisan overreach, with some saying more attention should be placed on election security.
Let's have a bipartisan effort to clarify a law that's 150 years old rather than the efforts the Democrats are taking to politicize and use January 6 as a political weapon.
Arizona is one of more than a dozen states that has passed laws to restrict voting, and more states are expected to do the same this year. A state senator from Tucson says she's seeking a new office, one away from the legislature. Democrat Victoria Steele says she's retiring from office at the end of her current term, and she'll run for Justice of the Peace in Pima County Precinct 1. She says she wants that job because she believes in justice for all with fairness, dignity, and respect. Steele has served in the state legislature for a decade. New details tonight on that synagogue standoff in Texas. The White House confirms the gunman who took 4 people hostage did not raise any red flags in law enforcement databases. The British citizen arrived in the U.S. on a tourist visa about 2 weeks ago. He spent time in the Dallas area homeless shelters before Saturday's standoff, which President Biden called an act of terror. British media reported he was investigated by that country's intelligence services as a possible terrorist threat in 2020. But the investigation was closed after no threat was found. The gunman was killed after authorities moved in. No hostages were hurt. Happening now, New York City fire investigators are looking into a deadly home explosion and collapse. It happened in the Bronx. A woman died from smoke inhalation. 7 others have injuries from smoke inhalation, including 3 police officers. One of the victims is in serious condition. Investigators suspect this was a gas explosion. More delays for the latest in smartphone technology. An update on how 5G is running into a no-fly zone around airports, including Sky Harbor in Phoenix. And the Pac-12 has some words for the Arizona women's basketball coach after she had some words about referees.